In the dark shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read the ancient tomes. The order of the Abracast. We are the brave and the bold.
As the magic cup is the heavenly food of the Magus, so is the magic pentacle his earthly food. The wand was his divine force, and the sword his human force. The cup is hollow to receive the influence from above, and the pentacle is flat like the fertile plains of the earth.
The Abracast, occult, history, conspiracy, and violence.
Recording from smack dab in the middle of the magic circle on the floor of this here Stigmata Studios, deep in the heart of the Steel City. Accomplishing the final details of the upcoming Water of the Art operation, I am John, and this is the Abracast. So thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the show. We're finishing up here. Hold on, We're finishing up the second part of Liber 4 this evening. This is magic and elemental theory. This is what we've been chipping away at for a while in these thelemic episodes. So that cold opening was the first couple lines of the section on the Pentacle, which we're going to pick right back up on that. But first, I got a quick couple things. The Abracast tarot cards are finally done, and they are available. I don't know exactly how long fulfillment's going to take. There are some steps of the logistics train that I'm testing out now, and I just can't automate it through the e-commerce part of the website right now. But they're up there. You can go get a good look at them. I did a little video for each section, kind of pointing out some of the fun stuff about the cards and whatnot. So check out the website there. Also, remember that it's Magician Sticker May. Anyone who joins Patreon at $5 or $10 tier or Subscribestar, the $5 or $10 tier, this month gets a exclusive Magician sticker from the tarot cards that I designed and that are now available. The one last thing is the Water of the Art operation is coming up. It's going down on the 3rd. I'm doing the operation on the 3rd, and then I'm keeping a hold of them, keeping hold of the water, and I'm going to charge it on the 6th. There's a full moon on the 6th. So doing it on a day and hour of Mercury on the 3rd. And then on the 6th, we're charging them under the full moon. And then I'm going to figure out how to get them out to those $10 Patreon and Subscribestar supporters. If you're interested in getting a jar of fucking fly-ass wizard water, that's how you do it. So, and you can hit the website up for more details. There'll be more details up as it gets closer and closer. Also on Patreon or Subscribestar, there are behind-the-scenes videos of me explaining the operation, explaining the modifications I'm doing to the operation, obtaining the ingredients. I took a video of me wading into the Ohio River to get the water for the operation. So I hope that those are some fun things. I'm getting a little bit of positive feedback from those Patreon folks over there. So that's how you check out the website. I'll explain it all to you. All right, here we go. Liber 4. This is the end of part 2. Magic, the elemental theory. This is Pentacles. I'll just do the cold open again. The completist in me doesn't like breaking it up like that. As the magic cup is the heavenly food of the Magus, and the magic pentacle is his earthly food. The wand was his divine force, and the sword is his human force. The cup is hollow and receives the influence from above, and the pentacle is flat, like the fertile plains of earth. The name Pentacle implies an image of the all. By this is a magical transformation of the pentacle. Just as we made with the sword symbolical. Just as we made the sword symbolical of everything by the force of our magic, so do we work upon the pentacle. That which is merely a piece of common bread shall be the body of God. The wand was the will of man and his wisdom, his word. The cup was his understanding of the vehicle of grace, and the sword was his reason. And a pentacle shall be his body, the temple of the Holy Ghost. So this is interesting. This is linking up a little bit to the Pentecost sermon that we just did last week. There is therefore nothing movable or immovable under the whole firmament of heaven, which is not included in the pentacle, although it be but 8 inches in diameter. And in the thickness, half an inch. Fire is not a matter at all, and water is a combination of the elements. Air, almost entirely a mixture of elements. Earth contains all, both in admixture and the combinations. So must it be that this pentacle is the symbol of earth. Now, oh boy, not to mix up my disciplines here, but in my tarot card, I don't do pentacles, I do coins. In the coins, the wands are the air, the cups are obviously the water, the sword is obviously earth, and that would leave the coins as fire. And as this pentacle is made out of pure wax, do not forget that everything that lives is holy. All phenomenon are sacraments. Every fact and even every falsehood must enter into the pentacle. It is the great storehouse from which the magician draws. In the brown cakes of corn, we shall taste the food of the world and be strong. And when speaking of the cup, it is shown that how every fact must be made significant. How every stone must have its proper place in the mosaic, and woe were it were one stone misplaced. But that mosaic cannot be wrought at all well or ill unless every stone be there. These stones are the simple impressions or experiences, not one may be foregone. Do not refuse anything merely because you know that it is a cup of poison offered by your enemy. Drink it with confidence. It is he that will fall dead. Disclaimer, I do not advocate that action. This term is very great. This then is very great difficulty for the magician. He cannot possibly have all experience, and although he may console himself philosophically with the reflection that the universe is counterminious with such experiences as he has, he will find it grow at such a pace during the early years of his life that he may almost be tempted to believe in the possibility of experiences beyond his own. And from a practical standpoint, he will seem to be confronted with so many avenues of knowledge that he will be bewildered which to choose. This is coming back. This is a couple Liber 3 items popping back up here. Fortunately, it does not matter very much, but he should at least choose those branches of knowledge which abut directly upon universal problems. He should choose not one but several, and these should be as diverse as possible in nature. All pentacles will contain the ultimate conception of the circle and the cross, through some, or though some will prefer to replace the cross by a point or a tau or a triangle. The Vesica Pisces is sometimes used instead of the circle, or the circle may be glyphed as a serpent. It's interesting. Let me ruminate upon this for a second. So, in the Lust card, which is Crowley's version of the World card, he replaces, or he puts a serpent, like kind of this woman wrestling or kind of dancing with a serpent. And then in his magic circle, the Thelemic magic circle he talks about earlier in Liber 4, he replaces a cross with a tau constructed of 10 squares, because the 10 represents the Sephiroth of the Kabbalistic tree of life. So that's all interesting to me. Time and space and the idea of causality are sometimes represented. So also are the 3 stages in the history of philosophy in which the 3 objects of study were successively nature, God, and then man. The duality of consciousness is also sometimes represented, and the tree of life itself may be figured therein, or the categories. The emblem of the great work should be added, and the pentacle will be imperfect unless the idea is constructed in a balanced manner with its opposite, and unless there is a necessary connection between each pair of ideas and every other pair. The neophyte will perhaps do well to make the first sketches for his pentacle very large and complex, subsequently signifying not so much by exclusion as by combination, just as a zoologist, beginning with the 4 great apes and man, combined all the single word primate. So this is interesting because it sounds kind of like he's talking about a sigil. You know, this sigil that all the kids, all the chaos magic sigils that all the kids are doing nowadays. It's funny because I actually did a sigil for the Water of the Art operation, and my sigil is perfectly balanced. Perfectly balanced. Interesting. It is not wise to simplify too far, since the ultimate hieroglyphic must be an infinite, the ultimate resolution not having been performed. Its symbol must not be portrayed. Distasteful facts should be insisted upon until the ego is perfectly indifferent to the nature of its food. Even as the diamond shall glow red for the rose and green for the rose leaf, so shalt thou abide apart from impressions. This great task of separating the self from the impressions of the veritas is one of the many meanings of the aphorism solve, corresponding to the coagula implied in the samadhi. God damn, man, there's synchronicities all over the place for this thing. That Pentecost sermon that I just did a week ago, it's posted on Subscribe. It's posted for free. You don't have to be a supporter, but it's posted for free on Subscribestar and Patreon. You could just go scroll down a little bit. You'll find it. It's available for everyone to listen to for free. It's called Pentecost Sermon in Quarantine, the Psychological Crisis of Solve and Coagula. Oh my God, it's great. And this pentacle therefore represents all that we are, the resultant of all that we had a tendency to be. Talk a lot about alchemy in that sermon, and that's what he's talking about right here. The self to the beloved, but in the beginning the magician is not that self. He is only the heap of refuse from which that self is to be built up. The magical instruments must be made before they are destroyed. This pentacle is an infinite storehouse. Things will always be there when we want them, and we may see to it occasionally that they are dusted and the moth kept out, but we shall usually be too busy to do much more. Remember that in traveling from the earth to the stars, one dare not be encumbered with too much heavy luggage. Travel light. Interesting life lesson from Aleister Crowley. Nothing that is not a necessary part of the machine should be entered into its composition. I need to write that down. Sorry, hold on. I need to make a note of this. This is a problem I've been having with my water of the art operation. The whole universe is an illusion, but it is not an illusion difficult to get rid of. It is true compared with most things, but 99 out of every 100 impressions are false, even in relations to the things on their own plane. Such distinctions must be graven deeply upon the surface of the pentacle with the holy dagger. There is only one other of the elemental instruments to be considered, namely the lamp. I'm going to move into chapter 10 here, which is all about the lamp. For the preparations of the elemental weapons, it is said that each symbolic representation of the universe is to be approved by the superior of the magician. To this rule, the lamp is an exception. It is said, "A magic lamp that shall burn without wick or oil, being fed by the ether. This shall be accomplished secretly and apart, without asking the advice or approval of the adeptus minor. This lamp is the light of the pure soul, and it hath no need of fuel. It is the burning bush, inconsumable, that Moses saw, the image of the Most High. This lamp hangeth above the altar, and it hath no support from below, and it light illuminates the whole temple. Yet upon it are cast no shadows, no reflections. It cannot be touched. It cannot be extinguished. In no way can it change, for it is utterly apart from all those things which have complexity, which have dimension, which change and may be changed." So my mind is wandering on me here for a second. There's a podcast I'm friendly with. I actually run their ads during the break from time to time. They're called The Whole Rabbit. It's Luke Madrid, and he's over there, and he talks a lot about. I don't listen to these episodes by the way, but I know it's one of his. It's one of his bones of contention that this. I don't know if he's talking about the Disney Star Wars or Star Wars in general, but he sees thelemic elements in some aspect of Star Wars. Now, you guys that are listening to the show for a long time know that I have a very stressed out relationship with Star Wars, so I don't listen to those episodes of The Whole Rabbit, but reading this, I see this. When Luke debuts his green lightsaber in Return of the Jedi, his dad says, "Oh, you've constructed your lightsaber, your training is complete." And that's what this magic lamp business fucking reminds me of, right? A lamp that shall burn without a wick, and you don't need to talk to your teacher to construct it. It's the last test. It's the last test is you have to be able to create this light, this laser sword or lightsaber or this magic lamp in order to complete your training, and it is unnecessary. it's frowned upon for you to talk to your mentor about how to construct this light. I should run that by you. I'm going to run it by him. Okay, back to it. Enough Star Wars already. Blah. When the eyes of the Magus are fixed upon the lamp, naught else exists. The instruments lie idle on the altar. That light alone burns eternally. The divine will that was the wand is no more, for the path has become one with the goal. The divine understanding that was the cup is no more, for the subject and the object of intelligence are one. The divine reason that the sword is no more. Here we go, man, look. And for this complex has been resolved into the simple. And the divine substance that was a pentacle is no more. For the many has become the one. The eternal, unconfined, unextended, and without cause and without effect. The holy lamp mysteriously burns without quality or quantity. Unconditioned and sempiternal is this light. It is not possible for anyone to advise or approve, for this lamp is not made with hands. It exists alone forever. It has no parts and no person. It is before I am. Few can behold it, yet it is always there. For there is no here nor there, no then nor now. All parts of speech are abolished save the noun. And this noun is not found either in human speech or in divine. It is the lost word, the dying music of those sevenfold. Echo is I, A, O, and A, U, M. Without this light, the magician could not work at all. Yet few indeed are the magicians that have no of it, and far fewer they that have beheld its brilliance. The temple and all that is in it must be destroyed again and again before it is worthy to receive that light. And hence it is so often seems that the only advice that any master can give to any pupil is to destroy the temple. I'm really getting a lot out of this. Hold on. Here, I'm going to toast to that. Destroy your temple, everybody. Here we go. Whatever you have and whatever you are veils before that light. Yet in so great a matter, all advice is vain. There is no master so great that he can see clearly the whole character of any pupil. What helped him in the past may hinder another in the future. Yet, since the master is pledged to serve, he may take up that service on these simple lines. Since all thoughts are veils of this light, he may advise the destruction of all thoughts, and to that end teach those practices which are clearly conductive to such destruction. So this is just, he's talking about this alchemical process, the magnus opus, and he's like, break it down, break it down, break it down. And also he's talking about this recurrence. Break it down, build it up, break it down, build it up, break it down. This is all that Nietzsche stuff we were on for so long, that Nietzsche's eternal recurrence. Crowley even claimed that Nietzsche was a prophet of Thelema. So this is all very interesting. I feel like I should go back and reread some of this stuff, but we must move along. And I don't want to get into this whole thing here. All right, well, I'll bust this one out. The crown. The crown of the magician represents the attainment of his work. It is a band of pure gold on the front, which stands 3 pentagrams. And on the back, a hexagram. The center pentagram contains a diamond or a great opal. The other three symbols contain the Tau. Under the crown is twined the golden Urius serpent with an erect head and expanded hood. Under the crown is a crimson cap of the maintenance which falls to the shoulders. Instead of this, an athept crown of Thoth is sometimes worn, for Thoth, the great god of truth, of wisdom, and the teacher of magic. An athept crown has two ram's horns, showing energy and dominion and the force that breaks down obstacles. Wow. The sign of the spring between these horns is a disk of the sun, and this spring is a lotus upheld by the twin perfumes of truth, and three other sun disks are upheld, one by the cup of the lotus and the others beneath the curving feathers. The crimson cap implies concealment and is also symbolical of the flood of the glory that pours upon the magicians from above. This is in that Pentecost sermon, bros. This is the star card of the tarot. Wow. It is of velvet for the softness of that divine kiss, and the crimson for that which is the very blood of God, which is its life. The band of gold is the internal circle of perfection. The three pentagrams symbolize the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, while the hexagram represents the magician himself. The serpent, which is coiled around the crown, means many things, or rather one thing. In many ways, it is the symbol of royalty and of initiation. For the magician is anointed king and a priest. This is a Melchizedekian feature. It also represents, feature topic link of like the Genesis stuff and like the Tammuz, specifically maybe World War Zero. World War Zero. And then there's some Freemason episodes that get into Melchizedek as well. If you're interested in this Melchizedekian aspect of what he just said in the feature topic link on Advertise.com. It also represents Hadat, which one can here only quote these words. I am the secret serpent coiled around to spring. In my coiling there is joy. If I lift my head and I, my Nuit, are one. And if I droop down mine head and shoot forth venom, there is a rapture of the earth. And I and the earth are one. The serpent is also, we know what it is, right? Go back to the Sex Magic episodes. Again, on the feature topic link. It is also the Kundalini serpent, lurching and spitting forth venom. Springing the magical force itself, the manifesting side of the Godhead of the magician, whose unmanifested side is peace and silence, of which there is no symbol. The serpent is also he who poisons. Venom is not a poison, but whatever. It is the force which destroys the manifested universe, which is also the emerald snake which encircles the universe. The matter must be studied in where this is discussed incomparably. So, he doesn't mention specifically an Ouroboros, which would link into this breaking down of the temple, since it is literally a snake eating its own tail. That's an interesting omission, I would say, from Crowley here. Okay, so, let's do it.
Learn more at abracast.com. Get bonus content by signing up for the mailing list. Get all that, plus many exclusive episodes by supporting the show at patreon.com or subscribestar.com.
Are you the type of person who has to close and minimize windows before the boss can see? Are there things that you've seen that you dare not mention to the normies and pink boys you see shambling down the sidewalk? Have you taken one step too many down the rabbit hole? Well, fear not. You are always welcome on The Whole Rabbit, where we discuss things like chaos magic, Aleister Crowley, and the tarot. But that's not all. We decode the mysterious Illuminati symbolism in films like Midsummer, Joker, Dr. Sleep, and Eyes Wide Shut. On The Whole Rabbit, we even discuss occult manuals like the Kabbalion and Abramelin the Mage. Here's wherever you most enjoy listening to podcasts, like Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and pretty much everywhere else podcasts are available. So tune in to The Whole Rabbit every week and join the conversation. And remember, eat carrots, shoot lasers.
The Water of the Art operation. So using the Magus, the celestial intelligencer, and operations from the Greater Key of Solomon and the Bible, I'm going to be preparing a large bottle of water of the art. It's kind of like holy water, but it's way cooler. Check it out. This is what the Greater Key of Solomon says. And know that wheresoever thou shalt sprinkle this water, it will chase away all phantoms, and they shall be unable to hinder or annoy anyone. With this same water thou shalt make all the preparations of the art. So I'm going to be collecting the ingredients needed for the operation on the days and hours specified in the book, and I'm going to perform the operation Wednesday, June 3rd at 11 p.m. And I'm also going to charge the water of the art under the full moon of June 6th. If you're interested in obtaining some of this water of the art, all you have to do is join the Patreon or subscribe star at the $10 tier. Being a supporter of the show on these platforms will also get you access to videos and bonus audio related to the operation. And I'm like, who wouldn't want some dope wizard water? All right, and besides the Water of the Art operation, just keep in mind also the Abercast tarot cards are available at abercast.com. And if you join that $5 or $10 tier on Patreon or Subscribe Star, you get the exclusive Magician sticker for Magician Sticker May. It's the tarot cards that I designed, the Magician, and she's hot. She's hot and she's cool and she's got 6 arms and shit. Like, it's awesome. All right, the robe. This is something I've actually been pondering about the Water of the Art operation. I'm like, should I get the robe out? Maybe I should do it topless. I'm not exactly sure I'm not exactly sure I'm gonna do it. So let's hear what Crowley has to say about it. The robe of the magician may be varied according to his grade and the nature of his working. There are 2 principal robes, a white one and a black one. Of these, black is the more important than the white, for the white has no hood. These robes may be varied by the addition of various symbols, but in any case, the shape of the robe is a tau. Oh, we've done stuff about this before. When I did the Equinox of the Gods, I did like a little bonus thing of Equinox of the Gods a few years ago, and I did it on video, and I went through and I did the body motions for when you're doing it. It was fun. The only light of the magician is from the lamp which hangs above his head. And he stands in the center of the circle, and the robe, being open at the neck, opposes no obstacles to the passage of this light. Here we go. Again, this is like This is like the Pentecost, or the light of the Ein Sof being filtered through the different Sephiroths, right? It's this idea of this downpouring of divine knowledge or whatever being symbolized by this light here in this thing. Being open and very wide open at the bottom, it permits that light to pass and illume them that sit in the darkness and the shadows of death. All right, the book, chapter 13. The book of spells or of conjurations is the record of every thought, word, and deed of the magician, for everything that he has willed is willed to a purpose. See Liber 3. It is the same as if he had taken an oath to perform some achievement. Now, this book must be a holy book, not a scribbling book in which you jot down every piece of rubbish that comes into your head. It is written, every breath, every word, every thought, every deed is an act of love with thee. Be this devotion as a potent spell to exorcise the demons of the five. The book must thus be written. In the first place, the magician must perform the practice so that he understands perfectly who he is. And it is what his development must necessarily tend. So much for the first page of the book. Let him then be careful to write nothing therein that is inharmonious or untrue. Nor can he avoid this writing, for this is a magic book. If you atone even for an hour the one purpose of your life, you will find a number of meaningless scratches and scrawls on the white vellum. And these cannot be erased in such case. When you come to conjure a demon by the power of these books, he will mock you. He will mock you. He will point to all of this foolish writing more like his own than yours, and vain will come and continue with the subsequent spells you have broken by your own foolishness, the chain which would have bound him. The writing of the book goes on eternally, and there is no way of closing the record until the goal of all has been attained. Let every page of this book be filled with song, for it is a book of incantation. All right, songs. We need an instrument. We got the next chapter here is the bell. It's a quick one. The magic bell is best attached to the chain. In some systems of magic, a number of bells have been worn and sewn upon the hem of the robe, with the idea of symbolizing that every movement of the magician should make music. But the bell of which we shall speak is a more important implement. This bell summons and alarms, and it is also the bell which sounds at the elevation of the host. It is thus also the astral bell of the magician. As the magical book was the record of the past, so is the magical bell the prophecy of the future. The manifested shall repeat itself again and again. The manifested shall repeat itself again and again. Always a clear, thin note, always simplicity of music, yet ever less and less disturbing the infinite silence until the end. Chapter 15, the Lamen. The breastplate, or the lamen of the magician, is a very elaborate and important symbol. In the Jewish system, we read that the high priest was to wear a plate with 12 stones, the 12 tribes of Israel, with all of their correspondence. And in this plate were kept the Urim and the Thummim. This, the first time I remember this is in Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Remember when Belloc is going to open the ark at the end? Before everybody's fucking face gets melted, and he's wearing that breastplate with the 12 different rocks, and he's got the turban thing on his head. And they also put this weird thing on their hand when they're going to communicate with God. Like this strap. Like a wrist brace. Because God will fucking wrestle you. God will fucking wrestle you. We know that. We just did the Jacob episode a few, what was it, 2 months ago maybe now. The modern lamen is, however, a simple plate, which, being worn over the heart, symbolizes the Tefereth, which is a Sephiroth of the Kabbalistic tree of life. It should therefore be a harmony of all the other symbols in one, and it connects naturally by its shape with the circle and the pentacle. But it is not sufficient to repeat the design of either. The lamen of the spirit whom one wishes to evoke is both placed in the triangle and worn upon the breast. But in this case, since that which we wish to evoke is nothing partial but whole, we shall have a single symbol to combine the two. The great work will then form the subject of the design. In this lamen, the magician must place the secret keys of his power. All right, the next chapter here is the magic fire with considerations of thurible and charcoal and incense. This is what the Goetia might call the suffumigations. Into the magic fire all things are cast, and it symbolizes the final burning up of all things. Oh boy, here we go. The final burning up of all things in Shivadar Shana. It is the absolute destruction alike of the magician and the universe. The thurible stands upon a small altar. My altar is of open brass work burned thereon in silver or gold. This altar stands in the east, as if to symbolize the identity of hope and annihilation. This brass contains the metals of Jupiter and Venus, fused in a homogeneous alloy. This is then symbolically of divine love, and it is open brass work because this love is not limited to the direction or extent. It is not particularized. It is universal. Upon this altar stands the censer proper. It is a cup. It is a hemisphere. It is supported from its edge. It is a plate pierced with holes. This censer is of silver or gold, because they were called the perfect metals. It is a perfection that is imperfect and burned. Upon this plate burns the great fire of charcoal impregnated with niter. This charcoal is, as chemists now begin to surmise, the ultimate protein element, absolutely black because it absorbs all light, infusible by the application of any known heat. The lightest of those elements which occur in the solid state is nature, the essential constituent of all known forms of life. It has been treated with niter, whose potassium has a violet flame of Jupiter, the father of all, whose nitrogen is that inert element which by proper combination becomes a constituent of all the most explosive bodies known, and oxygen, the food of fire. This fire is blown upon by the magician. This blaze of destruction has been kindled by his word and by his will. Under this fire he casts incense, symbolical of prayer, the gross vehicle or image of his aspiration owning to the imperfection of this image. We obtain mere smoke instead of perfect combustion, but we cannot use explosives instead of incense because it would not be true. Our prayer is to be the expression of the lower aspiring to the higher. It is without a clear vision of the higher. It does not understand what the higher wants. And however sweet be its smell, it is always cloudy. In this smoke, illusions will arise. We sought the light, and behold, the temple is darkened. In the darkness, this smoke seems to take strange shapes, and we may hear the crying of beasts. The thicker the smoke, the darker grows the universe. We gasp and tremble, beholding what foul and unsubstantial things we have evoked. Yet we cannot do without the incense. Unless our aspirations took form, it could not influence form. This is also the mystery of incarnation. This incense is based on gum olebanum, the sacrifice of the human will of the heart. This olebanum has been mixed with half its weight with storax, the earthly desires, dark, sweet, and clinging. And this again with half its weight of ligum, aloes, which symbolize Sagittarius, the arrow, and so represents the aspiration itself. It is the arrow that cleaves the rainbow. The arrow is temperance in the tarot. It is life equally balanced and direct, which makes our work possible. Yet this life itself must be sacrificed. Break it down, break it down, break it down. Remember earlier, in the burning up of these things arise in our imagination these terrifying or alluring phantasm which throng the astral plane. This smoke represents this astral plane which lies between the material and the spiritual, and one may devote a little attention to the consideration of this plane, about which a great deal of nonsense has been written. When a man shuts his eyes, he begins to look about him. At first, there is nothing but darkness. If he continues trying to penetrate the gloom, a new pair of eyes gradually opens. Some people think that these are the eyes of the imagination. Those with a more experience understand that this truly represents things seen, although those things are themselves totally false. At first, the seer will perceive gray gloom, and subsequent experiments, perhaps figures may appear with whom the seer may converse. And under those guidance, he may travel about this plane, being quite as large and varied as the material universe. One cannot describe it effectively. This astral plane has been described by Homer in the Odyssey here, Calypso and the Sirens here too, are these things which may have been imagined to be spirits of the dead. If the student wants take any of these things for truth, he must worship it, since all truth is worshipful. In such a case, he is lost. The phantoms will have power over him, and it will obsess him. As long as an idea is being examined, you are free from it. That's fucking interesting. There is no harm in man's experimenting with opium smoking. Here's to you. Or feeding on nuts. But the moment he ceases to examine and act from habit and without reflection, he is in trouble. God, I think that's an interesting, just another life lesson from Aleister Crowley here. Message. The worst of all phantasms are the moral ideas and the religious ideas. Sanity consists in the faculty of adjusting ideas in proper proportion. Anyone who accepts a moral or religious truth without understanding it is only kept out of the asylum because he does not follow it out logically. If one really believed in Christianity, if one really thought that the majority of mankind was doomed to eternal punishment, one would go raving about the world trying to save people. Sleep would not be possible until the horror of the mind left the body exhausted. Otherwise, one must be morally insane. Which of us can sleep if we know our loved one's danger of mere death? We cannot even see a dog drown without at least interrupting in our little business to look on. God, he's got this thing about dogs. In Liber 3, he talks about, hey man, if a dog's barking is bothering you, just fucking kill it. Who then can live in London and reflect upon the fact that it is of 7 million souls and all but about 1,000 Plymouth brethren will be damned? Yet the 1,000 Plymouth brethren who are the loudest in proclaiming that they will be the only ones saved seem to get on very well, thank you. Whether they are hypocrites or morally insane is a matter which we can leave to their own consideration. All of these phantoms of whatever nature must be evoked, examined, and mastered. Otherwise, we may find that just when we want it, there is some idea with which we have never dealt. And perhaps that idea springing on us by surprise, and as it were from behind, it may strangle us. And this is the legend of the sorcerer strangled by the devil. So, hey, I was remiss at the beginning of the show for not thanking my Patreon and Subscribe Star supporters. So let me take a minute here before we wrap up and say thank you guys. Thank you to all the new Patreon and Subscribe Star supporters. Thank you for the guys that have been with me for a long time. And just thank everybody that's out there supporting the show. And thank you for listening to the show. You know, if you don't want to support the show, you may share it with a friend. You probably got another weirdo that might like this show too. Atlantis, the Fellow Craft episode on Patreon and Subscribe Star, is the second part of our Atlantis series. So interesting. Okay. Thank you guys. Again, here's to my Patreon Subscribe Star supporters. Here's to the listeners of the show. Thank you guys all very much, and we'll see you later.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Send an email or visit us on social media to let us know what you think about this topic. And please remember to leave a 5-star rate and review.
Hey, did you learn something? Did you laugh? Supporting me is a way for you to be a part of the Abercast and ensure its growth and sustainability. It also means I can create a normal schedule for shows and bonus shows, as well as the exclusive Fellowcraft episodes. By supporting the show, you are not only a listener, but you are a part of the show. You supporting the show gives me a way to offer fun rewards as a thank you for showing your appreciation and support for our projects. Do you have an idea for a reward that you don't see? Let me know. My supporters are my partners. I currently pay for you to listen to the Abercast. Not only do I pay the hosting bills out of my own pocket, I volunteer my time and talent to each and every episode of the Abercast. The price of books, the time and resources of reading and researching, the massive amounts of gin and tonic needed, the equipment it takes to record the shows, the time and resources it takes to create the bonus material, and the cost to maintain the internet presence. Is it worth your support? I don't know. I'm proud of the Abercast, and I feel like I'm improving all the time. In addition to creating the show that you dig and that you are excited about, I also have a full-time commitment and other obligations. So why financial support? All of the supporters help me focus my time on the quality and development of the podcast. And what if you can't afford, or $3 or $10 or whatever a month. Believe me, I get that. There are many degrees of support, but if you can't support the show financially, please consider leaving a 5-star rate and review on your preferred podcast app. And don't forget that you can sign into the mailing list and still unlock a lot of bonus content. Thank you. I cannot put into words how much it means to me that you listen to the show each time I post a new episode. Your feedback, support, and love of the stories that we talk about here is what keeps me going.